Studio 31.
This is home. Your Alaska Link starts right now.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Scott Beadle. A charitable trust that serves the Pacific Northwest is giving money to 6 nonprofits in Alaska. Your Alaska Link's Ian Stewart spoke with one of the recipients in Anchorage.
Junior Achievement of Alaska will receive part of the $1.6 million that has been awarded to Alaska's 6 agencies by the M.J. Murdoch Charitable Trust. The president told us how Junior Achievement of Alaska will use the money.
We reach 15,000 students annually in 55 communities across the state. They have higher career satisfaction, 143% more likely to become entrepreneurs, and without support from organizations like the Murdoch Charitable Trust and this donation, we wouldn't be able to continue that evolution.
The M.J. Murdoch Charitable Trust has been around since 1975, helping states in the Pacific Northwest. The goal is to strengthen the region's education, social, spiritual, and cultural base.
Alaska Junior Achievement is one of 2 organizations here in Anchorage to receive funds from the Murdoch Trust Award.
Junior Achievement of Alaska is especially grateful for the latest grant and plans to put it to good use in its programs. Ian Stewart, Your Alaska Link, Anchorage.
It's time now for our first look at your forecast.
An expansive ridge of high pressure, a blocking high, is what's really making way for some quiet and settled weather for much of our region. Now, you don't have to look far out to the west, though, to see some more active weather, where the Bering Sea is looking incredibly active with rain and snow and wind. But for many of our locations, this high is keeping us nice and quiet. As you can see, minimal opportunities for precipitation into the interior, the Anchorage Bowl area, quiet. And we do have a taste of spring upon us as temperatures have been moderating. And we do have a shot at even some 50-degree weather in many cases. We've got overnight lows down to 20 in Fairbanks, 25 in Anchorage. Let's go ahead and take a look at our afternoon temperatures, though. By tomorrow, we'll be closing in on that 50-degree mark almost for Fairbanks. We've got Ukiavik and Prudhoe Bay even above 0, 42 for Juneau with sunshine expected and very quiet seas as well. Some gusty winds, though, still possible. Juneau maybe up to 30 miles per hour. We'll have more details on your main weather.
Senate candidate Kelly Tshibaka has opened her campaign office in Anchorage. Tshibaka is running against current Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski on the open primary ballot. Murkowski is endorsed by Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, while Tshibaka has been endorsed by former President Trump. That primary is set for August 16th. A man has died after a stabbing at the Fairbanks Super 8 motel. Police say motel staff reported the attack. When they arrived, they say Jesse James Sanderson directed them to the victim, who was lying on the sidewalk. Sanderson and officers tried to help the victim, a 32-year-old man with a stab wound to the chest, but after he was taken to a hospital, he died from his injuries. A motel staff member told police that Sanderson was the one who stabbed the victim. If you have any information, please contact the FPD. CBJ's seasonal campground, the Mill Campground, opens tomorrow. The campground, operated by Juneau Parks and Recreation, offers 20 tent platforms, toilets, drinking water, and bear-proof food storage. Now, there's no vehicle access or parking. It is walk-in use only. The facility provides primitive camping with no electricity. There's no cost to camp, but campers do need to register with campground staff. The campground will be open until October 13th. The city of Juneau plans to open the Capital Transit's Mendenhall Valley Transit Center this summer. VTC will replace the former stop behind the Nugget Mall as the main bus transfer site in the valley. Now, changes in a major stop location can have impacts throughout the system. You can learn about VTC and the possible route revisions during 2 open houses this week on April 13th and 14th. An investigation is underway following a shooting at a New York subway station. David Lee Miller tells us police are now searching for a motive.
A rush hour attack on a New York City subway has left multiple people injured. Panic on a New York City subway train Tuesday morning. Police say a passenger wearing a gas mask opened fire, hitting multiple people on the train and platform. A manhunt is now underway.
As the train was pulling into the station, the subject put on a gas mask. He then opened a canister that was in his bag, and then the car filled with smoke. After that, he began shooting.
The incident unfolding around 8:30 a.m. local time in Brooklyn. Fire personnel were responding to reports of smoke at the 36th Street station in Sunset Park. They arrived to find multiple people shot as well as smoke devices. Commuters helped bloodied passengers lying on the floor of the station.
It was just like a scary moment, and everyone was packed in that little station getting out. It was very scary.
It was like 9 or so, and we saw commotion, we saw cop cars pulling up, so we were concerned.
Law enforcement say they are still trying to determine a motive, but add the incident is not currently being investigated as an act of terrorism. They're asking for any information from witnesses to help piece together this investigation.
What is crucial right now are the videos, any videos in that area that will allow law enforcement officers to try to determine what went on there.
The White House says President Biden has been briefed on the shooting. In Brooklyn, New York, David Lee Miller, Fox News.
President Biden announced new restrictions on homemade guns, sometimes known as ghost guns. The president, along with Vice President Harris, made remarks in the Rose Garden. He said these so-called ghost guns do not have serial numbers, which makes it harder for law enforcement to track down people who purchased them. They're being found at more and more crime scenes, and it's nearly impossible to trace the weapons. President Biden announced the finalization of a rule that would require the makers of gun kits to include a serial number.
These guns are weapons of choice for many criminals. We're going to do everything we can to deprive them of that choice. And when we find them, put them in jail for a long, long time.
Gun rights advocates have pushed back against the new rule on ghost guns, arguing that reining in privately made firearms infringes on their constitutional rights. Russia has reportedly completed its buildup of forces for a renewed assault on Ukraine's eastern regions. Alex Hogan is in Ukraine with more.
The fighting in Mariupol is intensifying on day 48 of the war in Ukraine. The city, a key strategic target for Russia, has been under siege for 6 weeks, with Ukrainian defenders refusing to give up. Now the city's mayor says at least 10,000 civilians have been killed, and the death toll could ultimately be closer to 20,000, with the Russians allegedly bringing in mobile crematoriums to help dispose of the bodies.
Documents are taken away from them, they are interrogated, humiliated. It is unclear how many people were killed.
As the battle rages on, Russian forces are reportedly in the final stages of repositioning for a major offensive in the east, focused on taking over the Donbass, an industrial region controlled by pro-Russian rebels for much of the past 8 years. And the Pentagon says it expects to see more targeting of civilians in the coming days.
We can certainly say by what we've seen in the past, we're probably turning another page in the same book of Russian brutality.
Ukraine's president urging European leaders on Tuesday to sanction Russia's oil industry. But Russian President Vladimir Putin says that won't make a difference, and his military will achieve its goals in Ukraine regardless of the campaign to isolate Russia's economy.
We are not going to be isolated. No one can be isolated in the modern world, and it's impossible to do with a country as huge as Russia.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warning that Russia could use chemical weapons as he continues to urge NATO and the West to take stronger action. In Lviv, Ukraine, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
Still ahead, Susie Martin has your complete forecast. And later, Ann Emanuel checks in with your business headlines and more. But first, it's time for today's Hometown Hero.
Hometown Heroes, brought to you by Anchorage Chrysler Dodge Center.
Today's hometown hero is Juneau Harbor's officer Patrick Davis. Officer Davis was working in Harris Harbor when he noticed an unconscious harbor patron on the floats who appeared to be having a cardiac event. He quickly called 911 and began CPR. Due to his quick actions, that man was taken to Anchorage and stabilized.
You're watching ABC Alaska. You're watching ABC Alaska. Now, your Alaska Link weather.
Hi everyone, meteorologist Susie Martin here. So it certainly feels like spring for many as we've been tracking warmer weather. An expansive ridge of high pressure, a blocking high actually, has been really a prominent feature for much of Alaska, for the south central tier and into the panhandle In the Aleutians, though, we have what we call a stacked low that's really been strong and allowing for a lot of the more wicked weather to be out into the Bering Sea along the Aleutian chain, but weakening the high eventually towards the end of the week. So as we continue to see these bombardments of lows, eventually the high will be breaking down. But for now, it's in control for the majority of this week. And this hence is resulting in quiet Gulf seas, though out in the Bering Sea, we do have a gale force winds that have been occurring. So the gales are continuing where we've got that trough of low pressure still spinning. But here's that ridge. This is keeping much of our region very, very quiet. Now, I did want to point out, though, that our temperature outlooks long range wise into mid-April do indicate a colder than average pattern. So while we have been tracking a warm up, be prepared for maybe some colder trends ahead. And then in terms of precipitation, the precipitation outlook is actually looking significantly dry April 17th through April 21st. So we'll continue to monitor the situation. Now, marine weather, as we mentioned, has been very quiet. So quiet seas throughout thanks to that ridge of high pressure that's been in progress. As you can see, fair weather for many with lots of sunshine and light chop to the water. So no big concerns in terms of marine weather. A look at our high temperature forecast for Wasilla into Anchorage, reaching the 40s, and a few spots will be flirting with that 50-degree mark. It's about mid-April. Well, we climatologically inch closer to 50 degrees here in the Anchorage Bowl area. So with that said, we may or may not make it this week, but we've got a stretch of 40s, and by the weekend is when we start to reintroduce an opportunity for precipitation. An update on our daylight hours. So we have been gaining, of course, daylight quite a bit, and by next Wednesday, we're going to see an additional 40 minutes of daylight. And as we look at May, by May 13th, we'll be gaining an additional 2 hours and 46 minutes of daylight. So that's where we're at. Let's take a look at our low temperatures for Wednesday morning. So we've got overnight lows in the Fairbanks area down to around 20. Interior Alaska will also be feeling spring. We've got high temperatures up to near 50 degrees. So 47 in Fairbanks for Wednesday. It should be nice and mild. Colder, though, by the end of the week, as we do see some changes in the pattern with that ridge breaking down. Now, for the Panhandle area, we've got 20s overnight and quiet conditions, really. Lots of sunshine will be underway. Ketchikan up to 43. We've got Juneau up to 42 degrees. Here's a look at our extended forecast. We do stay dry through at least our Thursday. Friday, though, we may see a couple of showers. A stretch of 40s, though, will be anticipated and relatively quiet weather.
Tonight's marine forecast is brought to you by Dewey's Cook Inlet Marine.
Inflation hits another 40-year high. Small biz optimism takes a dip, and the world's busiest airport. Cheryl Casone has these stories and more in today's Business Briefs.
The Consumer Price Index for March showing the largest year-over-year increase in 4 decades, 8.5%. A large part of that increase is believed to be caused by the Ukraine war and the surge in energy prices. Excluding food and energy, prices are still up 6.5% year-over-year. Though gas prices have moderated in recent weeks, they do remain near record highs. Well, small business confidence slipped last month to the lowest level in nearly 2 years. The National Federation of Independent Business Optimism Index declined for the 3rd month in a row. Small business owners are expressing concern about staffing and supply chain disruptions. Well, Facebook parent company Meta spending a fortune to keep CEO Mark Zuckerberg and his family safe in 2021. $27 million went to an overall security program, according to an SEC filing. That included $15 million for Zuckerberg at his residences and during travel, and then $10 million for an annual pre-tax allowance that helped his wife and children. Meta says it's all necessary because Zuckerberg is such a high-profile executive. And Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport has once again reclaimed its throne as the world's busiest airport. In 2021, Atlanta saw 75.7 million passengers, up a whopping 76% from 2020, but still down more than 30% from pre-pandemic levels. Overall, global air travel continues to rebound from the pandemic. Airports Council International World reporting there were nearly 4.5 billion global flight passengers in 2021, an increase of nearly 25% from 2020. Well, for more stories, log on to foxbusiness.com. In New York, I'm Cheryl Casone.
The U.S. is one of many countries imposing strict sanctions on Russia after its invasion of Ukraine. But now federal officials are warning that those sanctions could cause Russian cybercriminals to retaliate. Kevin Cork has more on who could be at risk and how you can protect your assets online.
The Justice Department will use every available tool to find you.
Federal officials warn of an increase in cyber threats from Russian criminals and oligarchs trying to evade U.S. sanctions, citing the potential for them to target the finances of American businesses and private citizens or hide their assets and redistribute their wealth.
We have our eyes on every yacht and jet. We have our eyes on every piece of art and real estate purchased with dirty money.
Criminal justice professionals say the longer the war drags on, the more financial pain the sanctions could cause. And as their funds dry up, cyber criminals could prepare to launch new attacks on your digital wallet.
Hackers, whether working on behalf of the state or on their own, could start targeting cryptocurrencies as a means to get money back.
Besides making sure your username and password are strong, officials say be sure to watch out for email scams trying to obtain your login credentials.
It's imperative that you don't respond.
The FBI also sounding the alarm, issuing a new report warning of business email compromise. It's a process where cyber criminals hack into email accounts and trick victims into sending money, usually for bills, to a bank account established by the thief. Cyber experts also predict hackers will start focusing more on attacking critical infrastructure, places like hospitals and power companies, to try to inflict greater harm and seek higher amounts of ransomware. I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
The deadline to file your taxes is soon, but what do you do if you won't have your taxes finished? The IRS says those who need more time can ask for an extension by April 18th, which is the last day to file to avoid a penalty fee. Currently, the fee is 5% of unpaid taxes for each month the payer is behind. To request this extension, you'll need to fill a Form 4868. It will also ask you to provide a rough approximate of how much you owe to the agency. The IRS will give you until October 17th to file.
You're watching ABC Alaska.
A busboy at a Phoenix Denny's has been serving up smiles since 1978. Barney has a work ethic and an attitude that both staff and customers say is infectious. Bailey Miller has more on Barney's 40 years on the job.
If you've dined at the Denny's on Camelback and 7th Street within the last 40 years, you have seen Barney. He cleans up the dishes and wipes down the tables, all while saying hello to the customers.
Good.
But he's doing a lot more than just keeping the restaurant sparkling clean.
His whole attitude and demeanor is very infectious.
His boss for the last 14 years, Joe Wood, says his presence and work ethic is something everyone, employees and customers, can see.
He is literally the best employee I've ever had.
Wood says he's always on time, never misses a day, and never wants to stop working.
When you see somebody with those kind of challenges, and as hard as they work, it becomes a lot harder for people to make excuses.
Barney's a role model for the developmentally disabled and intellectually disabled.
Not only have his employees fallen in love with Barney, but customers too. Some have come for the last several decades just to see him. The food is just a bonus. Barney says he loves his work, and the reason why, he says it's the people.
Nice people.
Actor Johnny Depp and his ex-wife, actress Amber Heard, face off in a Virginia courtroom. Attorneys from both sides will begin making their case today. David Spunt has more.
Are we ready with opening statements?
Opening statements getting underway in Fairfax, Virginia, in the case between actor Johnny Depp and his ex-wife, actress Amber Heard.
Mr. Depp built a reputation as one of the most talented actors in Hollywood, a respected artist. Today, his name is associated with a lie.
Depp is suing Heard for $50 million, saying she defamed him in a 2018 Washington Post op-ed about being a survivor of domestic abuse. While the piece never mentioned Depp by name, the actor's attorneys insist it damaged his reputation. Heard's attorneys will argue she told the truth and Depp was always the aggressor.
Depp's side
really has the benefit of hearing what Amber has to say and what her allegations are.
By Monday afternoon, 7 jurors plus 4 alternates were selected for the trial. They could hear from a long list of high-profile witnesses, including Tesla CEO Elon Musk and actor James Franco. The Virginia trial is part of a bitter legal battle between the couple. In 2020, Depp lost his libel case against a British tabloid that labeled him a wife-beater. A UK judge ruled Depp repeatedly assaulted Heard and made the actress fear for her life.
They've already gone through this. They've already aired a lot of dirty laundry.
The trial is expected to last 6 weeks. In Fairfax, Virginia, David Spunt, Fox News.
We want to leave you with a smile. Krispy Kreme wants to ease pain at the pump. The donut chain will be offering a dozen glazed donuts for the price of a gallon of unleaded regular gas. The deal will be available on Wednesdays through May 4th, starting this week. Krispy Kreme will set the price based on the AAA national average price of a gallon of regular gasoline on the Monday of each week. Customers can get up to 2 dozen donuts for the price of a gallon of gas. The price is normally in the $10 range. From our whole team, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your day.